Hello again.
Hi.
We'll wait for folks to trickle on in. Unfortunately, I don't think I can play sound through screen share in this version of things. Oh, but I can share a video. That seems promising. Let me see. It's not important for right now. As folks are entering the room, if you want to just type your name again, say how you're feeling to close out the day, where you're sitting in your body at. As we give folks a few more minutes, probably give them 2 more minutes before we get started. And then I will hop off camera and Ashley will continue. And we do have an ASL interpreter, Emma, down at the bottom. Well, currently at the bottom, but when I'm gone, it'll be side by side with Ashley. So we are very grateful to you, Emma, for your services today. Oh, you know what I could do? Let me see. Let's play some. Does my sound weird when I'm playing like this?
No, it sounds good.
Past the infatuation phase, right in the thick of love times, we get sick of love. Seems like we argue every day. I know I misbehave, you made your mistakes, but we both still got room left to grow. And though love sometimes hurts, I still put you first. We'll make this thing work, but I think we should take it slow. We're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go, 'cause we're ordinary people. Maybe we should take it slow, take it slow. Oh, this time we'll take it slow, take it slow. This time. Okay. This time we will take it slow, everyone. So again, thank you all for showing up for yourselves today and ending out your evening or your afternoon with some self-care. I will hop off camera and hand it over back to Ashley.
Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Ashley Cornelius. I am a therapist and a professional poet, and I'm so happy to join you all at the close of this day. So we're going to be talking about self-care and how to tend to ourselves, especially after doing so many sessions and really pouring into the work that we're going to be doing here and outside of this session. So before we get started, I just want to talk about self-care. Some people might have been in the beginning when I opened up this space this morning, but self-care really is about pouring into ourselves. We've heard the analogy of put the oxygen mask on yourself before your child to help, and the same thing applies here. We have given so much of ourselves today in these sessions, and so now it's time for us to pour back into ourselves and to really take deep intentional care. And in the morning, we talked about really just your basic needs being met with self-care. So I want you to think about, what have you had to eat today? Have you fueled your body? Was it delicious? Were you able to get some nourishment? Did you drink water? I am the #1 person who does not drink water, ever. So remember to hydrate your body. And did you get time to rest? Even a moment, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just to relax, to calm your body. and to rest. And then your boundaries. We get to vote with our energy, where we put our energy, how we use it, and you get to choose where and when. And all of you have chosen to share that energy with me today in this self-care routine. So what we're going to be talking about today to close out this group is to kind of ground ourselves and let some things go. So if you ever seen like a rabbit, or if maybe you have a dog, whenever they get scared or something happens, they typically shake, right? And so there's a lot of research now that shows that shaking is actually getting off all of this energy. Typically this is in relation to trauma, but it can also happen when we're talking about really deep issues and we're putting a lot of ourselves in. And so what we're gonna do is just take a moment and we're gonna shake. And I know that sounds weird, but we're gonna move our bodies, right? I love how we talk about how are you feeling in your body and really recognizing that. And so I'm gonna count down and we're just gonna shake to however you want. So you can shake your fingers, you can shake your whole body, but we're just gonna take some very specific time to shake, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I know that can sometimes feel very silly. I'm in my room alone and it feels very weird to shake, but really start to think about how are you feeling now, right? And when we shake, we're shaking off all of that negative energy, all of the discomfort, anything that we felt that's built up, we're dislodging that in our bodies. And that is self-care. When we think about moving our bodies, it's often more than exercise or cardio. It really is just expressions of ourselves and moving in the best way that we can. So the next thing that we're going to do together is we're going to do like a mindfulness exercise. So some of y'all did this with me this morning, but we're going to do a meditation really to solidify all the things that we've learned here and think about our process growing. So feel free to get comfortable wherever you are. You can close your eyes or just focus on us as we share and interpret. But I want you to start off by taking 3 deep breaths. So inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. So those 3 breaths are automatically calming our bodies down, and we're going to get ready to go through this guided meditation. Okay? So again, feel comfortable and start to get into the rhythm of your own breathing. Lean into all the sounds you might hear that you haven't been able to, or notice things in your room or your space that maybe you haven't been seeing. Now I want you to think back through all of these sessions and imagine each of these experiences as a seed. I want you to think about all of the different ways that you've learned about race, equality, equity, inclusion, and imagine them as different seeds. Now I want you to think about planting those seeds in your specific garden. This garden can look however you would like. It could be in the middle of a busy city, on a beautiful farm, or in outer space. You get to decide where this farm is. And as you plant each of these seeds, take time to think about what you've learned, what you've gained as a part of each session, and put intentionality in each of these seeds. Now, I want you to water these seeds And think about what that water might be. Is it intention? Is it speaking up? Is it making change in your workplace? Is it sharing your experiences? But think about what is going to help these seeds to grow. What do you personally need to make this into a beautiful harvest? And I want you to think about what this looks like when it grows. These can be action items for yourself. What are you hoping to get from these sessions, from these seeds? What do you want to grow? Take some time leaning into the rhythms of your breath, imagining what can grow from these seeds. Is it social change? Is it an equity and inclusion council at your workplace? Is it equality? Is it talks about racism? What will these seeds become? And as we think about what this garden or farm will produce, remember to tend and care for all of your experiences during these sessions. Know that these seeds are within you, and you have deep power to create social change in your life, in your workplace, and in your community. We're going to take 3 deep breaths again and come back into this space. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes if they were closed. You can come back to the present moment, back into this space on our day 2 of advancing racial equity and inclusion in the workplace. I want to thank you all for going through this meditation and guided visualization with me. I think the big thing when we talk about self-care, and especially within such incredible sessions, is that we get a fire. We get all of these seeds that are planted, and it's often hard to realize them. And so we really want to be intentional about the ways that we're going to water these seeds. How are we going to make sure that there's a harvest, that there's a change, that we're bringing everything that we've learned in these sessions into our current lives? Like I said, whether that's family, work, community, but this deep intentional care to water the things that have been growing inside of you and that you've planted by being here today and in the sessions that you've participated in. And so I always like to reinforce that self-care means we get to survive to see the revolution. We get to survive to see the fruits of our harvest of these seeds planted, which means taking care of ourselves. It means our minds, our bodies, our spirits, and really listening. I think that's what I want to really focus on in these closing session, is that our mind, body, spirit connection, typically we're not very good at listening to it. The only time we're really on point is when we're hungry. So when I'm hungry, I'm like, oh, my stomach is rumbling. I would love a taco. I'm very angry that I do not have a taco. I'm going to go get me one, right? It's this very direct line of processing where I'm listening to my body, I'm hearing what I'm feeling, and then I'm making kind of that direct request of myself. But we often don't do that in other spaces, right? When we're feeling something that's a little bit deeper. And I'm so sure in these sessions we felt so much, right? I often say we can feel things in our hearts and in our stomachs. I'm a stomach person. That's where all of my anxiety, happiness, passion rest. And so really listening and start to think throughout this, the night as we close, of where did you feel most alert in these sessions? What were you feeling in your body? When were you uncomfortable? When were you passionate and excited, and really leaning into those spaces and learning more? And again, watering that seed just a little bit more. If you're feeling something, right, that means that your body wants you to know that something's happening and to lean in even farther. And the beauty of self-care, and I say this a lot, is that your breath is always available to you, right? Those 3 deep breaths are my favorite way to help people self-care and to calm down, and to just get your basic needs met. The food, the water, the boundaries, where you're putting your energy, and having deep compassion for yourself. This morning, we talked about compassionate colors as a meditation. And while we're talking about really important and often complex topics, we get to be kind to ourselves. And we do this through affirmations, right? So if you haven't had one already, or if you haven't thought of one, start thinking about an affirmation, or think about something you can say that's kind to yourself, especially in the moments where we're working, we're learning, we're educating. There needs to be kindness, because we are with ourselves 100% of the time. I know my mom would always say, you are your own best friend. So you have to be the nicest out of everyone. And I think that's so true, especially in this work and around social justice. There are so many systems of oppression that are actively working against us, right? And so we might not always get that validation from our communities or from our systems. And so really filling into us and letting ourselves know that it is okay, that we are enough, that we are worthy, that we are all of the things that we have ever doubted. And within self-care, we often don't talk about impostor syndrome, which is the idea that you believe that you don't belong in a specific realm or area. So for example, I can think, you know what? I don't know. I don't feel like a good enough therapist. I have no idea what I'm doing. Even though I've got years of experience and all of us have experience in our fields, that doubt comes into our minds. And that definitely happens with race and equity and inclusion, especially in the workplace. We often doubt ourselves or second guess. And so in that self-care is leaning in and really supporting and knowing that you belong, that what you have to say is valuable and important. And if no one has told you this today, I'm here to tell you that you are enough. You are so valuable and your voice is important, and it's going to make change. And the more that we lean into ourselves, the more that we can stand up and speak out and start to address the things that are happening to us in these systems. So it's so incredible to lean into ourselves. And I've heard a lot, well, this is very selfish. Like I don't want to spend too much time on myself. And so I challenge you, it totally is. And we get to be selfish. We get to really, really pour into ourselves so that we can in turn help other people. We have to have our cup full. I mentioned this earlier, and that cup can be full of glitter. It can be full of hot chocolate. It can be full of whatever gives you joy. But we can't pour into people if we're not full ourselves. I heard another metaphor around this about a gas tank, right? We can't actually get to our destination if we don't actually have the fuel. And the fuel can look different for all of us. Like I said, our basic needs, but also our joys, the way that we communicate, making sure we're feeling supported, loved, and validated. And so thinking back on today's session, where are the moments where you felt validated? Where are the moments where you felt good and supported? And like I said, lean into these ways. A lot of self-care is doing a needs assessment on yourself. Is just observing the places where you felt good, tuning into your body, tuning into your emotions and your mental health about where you felt the strongest and trying to replicate those. And it can often happen without buying anything. That's a big part of what I talk about with self-care, is find the ways that you can provide for yourself without necessarily having to spend money. So like your breath or getting some sleep, taking a walk, being outside, doing something where you have access and it's not always this transaction, because we need self-care, honestly, in the weirdest moments. I know so many of us are busy, and so sometimes we find a quiet 5 minutes and we get to take it. And so self-care doesn't have to look like anyone else's self-care. As we decolonize and start discussing self-care, we also get to figure out what it looks like for us, and really breaking down these barriers of what is normal or typical. We get to decide that for ourselves, which is an incredible journey that we get to start to recognize and craft for ourselves. And I am a poet by nature. And so I invite you all that this is creativity, right? You get to create something so new. I talk so much about systems and that the system isn't broken. We hear that often, but the systems are typically working perfectly in a way that it was designed to oppress and suppress most people. So as we start to recognize, we get to build, we get to create, we get to invent new systems for ourselves, for our communities that can be stronger, that can address the ways in which we are oppressed. And you get to be a part of it, which is incredible that you are an inventor, you are an artist, you are a creator, you have so much power and capability. And like I said, these seeds from these sessions, we're growing them, right? And we're planting a beautiful harvest. And if you have access to the chat, I'd love to hear what people are thinking about this harvest. Like, what do you want to see grow? What are you hoping will come from the seeds of these sessions? If anyone wants to share in this general chat, I would love to see it. A flower of peace. Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, there's so much, like flowers are fantastic, which is why I love garden metaphors and farming, because each thing requires very different needs. I'm going to say this to everyone. I kill so many plants. Oh gosh, I try really hard. I really do. And it's because every plant has very specific needs. Some need a lot of water, some need no water, some need sunlight, some need to be dark. And so really taking time to think about what your flower or what your idea needs, because it's going to be different for everyone. And we got to figure out how best to support that growth. And in the chat, the garden we create provides oxygen for our deep breath and sustains us all. Oof, beautiful. There are poets in this chat. Create space for others and support people in their work. My blooms will help me to be brave. Oh, I love this idea of support, right? Of rather blooming something into existence, but helping what's already happening inside of us, right? A support, a bolster for more work. And the beautiful part of all of this is you get to collect your harvest whenever you want and continue to plant and to grow, right? It's in perpetuity, right? This garden is in your imagination. So it can be whatever you want. You can grow things as big, as bold, as bright, as small as you want. Yeah, in the chat, sunflowers of honest engagement with colleagues. Oof, yes. Honest engagement. What a powerful thing to do. I think so many of us, especially with self-care, wear masks, right? As a Black woman, there's a lot of things that I'm nervous to say, to speak up, because of tone policing or ideas that if I do speak up, I will be labeled as an angry Black woman or aggressive or disrespectful. And so having honest, vulnerable communication, wow, is such a deep part of self-care, and like drops our shoulders, right? And if you haven't done that already, I tell you, we keep trauma in our hips, but we do in our shoulders. So if you haven't already, drop that shoulder, release the jaw, start to relax, right? This is at the end of our day, and we're really leaning into this. We're letting some of that tension go and being honest. I hope to share an actual plan for racial equity. I'm just reading in the chat some of the things that people are growing and envisioning. Stronger positive relations between BIPOC, which if you don't know, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. more love, and more honesty. Yes. So much happening, right? And all of this is part of these seeds that we get to water and we get to grow into fruition. I know what always happens with me is I have so much fire, so much passion after events, and then I don't really know what to do afterwards. And so use this as a guide. Remember that those seeds exist inside of you, and continue to water them. Water them with books and education, water them with panels, water them with honest discussions, water them with being honest with yourself, right? That self-care. But think about all of the unique ways that we can grow this. And it's going to look different for every single person. I'm looking over here, a beanstalk to help me rise more. Oh, I love metaphors so much. It tells so much about who we are and what we're working with. And yeah, that tension, that shoulder tension is so real. We're mostly like this all of the time. This is how many of us are. And just the dropping, right? Just a little bit of tension, even in the jaw. I like grind my teeth, so I'm always very clenched, but just taking a moment. And that is self-care, right? We're talking about big metaphorical topics with the seeds and the watering, but self-care is unclenching your jaw. Like, that's it. And maybe that's all you have to do. And maybe that's all the capacity you have to do is dropping your shoulders or taking a breath. But every step towards self-care, just like every step towards gardening or farming, is working to produce a harvest, right? Each time you take a sip of water is helping your body. Each time you're planting and having an honest conversation in the workplace is working to build that garden. It all folds into each other. I'm reading on the chat. The garden includes vegetables and fruits that provide the nutrition the souls of our people need to continue our pursuits of justice. Oh my gosh, everyone is a poet in here. I love this so much. Yes, that nutrition, going back to self-care and food. What are we feeding ourselves? Is your garden here to fuel you? Is it here to support you? What is it doing? And we can take this in so many different ways. So I love being a facilitator in that my job gets to go away, right? So even when I'm not here and leading, you all can start to think about your gardens, your harvest, what's watering you, what you need in different aspects of your world, continuing with these sessions, and then in your communities, your families, and your workplaces. I am so deeply grateful for this time to help ground and relax and really reflect on what we've done today. Again, my name is Ashley Cornelius. I'm so happy to be here and to share this space with you all. And again, to remind you that we have to survive to see the revolution. And so taking care of yourself is an act of resistance. It is protest, and it is so deeply necessary. So take care of yourselves in the most authentic way possible. And I know that it will pay off in your gardens, your farms, your flowers will produce such beautiful harvest for time to come. So thank you all so much. And thank you in the comments. I'm reading them all now. I appreciate you all so much.
I could end and start every day with you. I am posting Ashley's information again for you all. As always, you can connect with her directly through the symposium site, and it'll be linked to all of these things. But in case you want to quickly access that, that is. That was beautiful. Again, I feel like all of these self-care sessions that have been set up have just been woven so brilliantly, because in my closing tomorrow, I was going to talk about planting and gardens and all of that. So this is a really good segue into that for tomorrow, and a good way to end out today. So thank you again. Thank you, Emma, for the short notice interpretation. Grateful to you and all of the other folks that have stepped in today. Thank you all for showing up for yourself, not only today, but tomorrow and in the days to come. I hope you all continue to plant those seeds and to water yourselves, and to continue growing your gardens in ways that make the world better. If you identify as BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, person of color, we will be doing a virtual happy hour in 30 minutes. No, now? I can't. I think it starts now, but the performance itself will start in the next 15 to 30 minutes. So definitely show up for that. You can, again, access that through the symposium site. And we will be having a special performer. Her name is Edem Soul Music. She's an African artist based in Omaha, Nebraska. And we are just really, really grateful that she will be sharing her talents with us. And so it'll be another way to take care by taking in some music and all of those things. So thank you again, everyone. And I will end this broadcast so we can transition into the other one. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.